Shambhu, Mahadev, Mahadev, Mahadev. So we were discussing after the purity of mind, and we said when the Shastras are being eligibility to listen the Shastras. So when you are listening the Shastras, how should we listen? With those qualities that we have already described last few sessions, all those qualities are a point, a plus point for a person to easily absorb the Tattva-jnanam, Tattva-shastram, or the Brahma-jnanam, Brahma-shastram. Because they are not the materialistic science where there is proof, there is visibility, there is vyaktata, clarity to the physical eyes and ears and panchendriyas. It's so absent of all these things. So it has to have certain qualities in the mind in order to absorb those which are not visible, not heard, there is no akara, vikara, there is no sarupa. So to believe that, to understand that which is there, we can, if there is a letter, we can read it. If that is not there, how do you understand? It is something like that. So we should have that, that faculty has to be created, that faculty has to be nursed, nurtured, and then brought to this level. So that is what we had been explaining all this while, that how to create that capability to see that is not unseen, to hear that is unheard, to smell what is could not be smelled. Things like that. That's in the adhara swabhava of the jnana. The bhava of the jnana we can see, we can read, we can understand. It's a bhava. Swabhava which is there inherent and that which cannot be seen, which is in the prakriti all over but cannot be seen. Like the breeze, like the air, cannot see it, but at least here one can feel it. This you cannot feel it also. So that which is not vyaktam, that avyaktam, that which is not clear, vyaktam avyaktam is concerning only the material body. Pratyaksha paroksha. Yes. It is vyaktam, avyaktam is a common factor for all that. Vyaktata to hear, vyaktata to see, vyaktata to smell, vyaktata to touch, vyaktata to that. This common thing is vyakta, avyakta. Pratyaksha and paroksha is that which is visible, which is not visible. Pratyaksha. That which is in front of you, pratyaksha. That which is not. That also concerning everything, all indriyas. But this goes one more step behind. Pratyaksha paroksha is the same meaning. That is absolutely right.
Aparoksha.
Aparoksha, yes. That also is right. So that avyaktata should be brought into the vyakta bhava. So that in order to understand that avyaktata has to be understood. Aparoksha or paroksha has to be understood. Who will understand that? Is it the brain? Is it the mind? Is it the sharira? Is the mind? No. Here the understanding is not through the pratyaksha to the paroksha to the pratyaksha. That's why I said about the vyaktada and avyaktada. That which is avyakta should be understood by that which is avyakta. Avyaktata should be understood by avyakta. It's the same. It's only the words we mince, that's all. The word is that, the meaning is that Brahmavit Brahmaiva Bhavati. That's all. Same thing. Brahmavit Brahmaiva Bhavati. So Avyaktata should be understood, can be understood by the Avyaktata state only. That language of the understanding of the Avyaktata has to be transmitted into the Vyaktata for the purpose of not making the Avyakta to understand, but to convert the Avyakta into, to convert the Vyakta into Avyakta. It's not making the Avyakta understanding. It is not making the Pratyaksha understanding about the Paroksha or Aparoksha. But Pratyaksha is making it, the Aparoksha or Paroksha is making the Pratyaksha into Paroksha. Conversion, that's why Vyaktata, that's why the Vyaktata is more clarity. Avyakta is making the Avyakta understanding in order to make the Vyaktata converting into the Avyaktata. So there is no understanding of Vyaktata and remaining back. The Vyaktata is automatically diluted into Avyaktata. This is the purpose. So when it is diluted, what happens? That Avyaktata only knows that which is infinite only knows. So making the finite into the infinite. The finite into the infinite. The purpose is not that making the finite to understand the infinite. Finite can never be understanding the infinite. It is not possible. It doesn't have characteristics to that. So to make that, so Paroksha or Aparoksha, making that Pratyaksha into Apratyaksha, let me call it like that. And it goes into Paroksha, what happens? The Pratyakshata become Apratyaksha. That Apratyaksha should be understood. That which is not seen, Apratyaksha. That has to be seen. The conversion, that means the transformation takes place automatically. So what happens? It is not stored in the memory then. This is how the Vedanta should be listening. So earlier centuries we know that how the Vedas were transmitted before the script was there, before the writing and then notes and things like that were there. These were all transmitted through the psychic powers of the Guru to the disciple, and the disciples, like last week we explained, the disciple perceives it. That is why the perception has come. The meaning of perception is that which is bhautika, that which is material, cannot perceive it. You can see the other materials also. The material cannot perceive something. The material can only dilute itself, merge itself, or destroy by itself. That's all that it can. Destruction means again layam. After destroying, what is that? Next is the layam. So any material cannot perceive, it can transform. Any material like that. It cannot perceive, it is not like any of them for that matter, any materialistic way. So the life is like that, the living also is like that, our life is like that. The whole experiences that what we are undergoing through the process of experiencing through the mind and the sharira and the indriyas, they also get exhausted and diluted. There will be no memories of them. A man after he dies, where is the memory? All the memories are lost, finished. That whatever is there. But what happens? What we carry then? And how are the next birth is happening? That we are coming to that. It is where that we store through the udana to the Sukshma Sharira, and then to the Karana Sharira, which is the cause, and then which is going. So we will come to that also, and then we will finish. So then, here, how to listen. Because as I told that, yes, I know it is difficult for people to just switch into this status, I know that. But at least one should be aware. Why one should be aware? Many of us have complaints, including me. Why am I not able to understand that? Even if I understand that, why am I not able to practice it? Why am I not able to transform myself immediately after knowing it is a fact? And I have accepted. My mind has accepted, my sense has accepted, my all the senses, my everything, whatever it is, they are all accepted, but I am unable to transform myself. What is the reason? The reason is that it is only that the awareness is there, but we cannot do that. You see. That is why I said at least the awareness should be there. Let the awareness be there first. First let the awareness be there. And then insist on that awareness every day. That will transform. Once we understood and established it, every day we go through that establishing, the characteristic itself will automatically change. We don't change, we automatically change. That means it is not a karma that what is happening. One is materialistically when we talk about change, it is a karma that we can change it, we can make it, things like that. As I told you here, we can make, if we can make, we could have changed anything. We could have just listened and we could have changed. That means we cannot. So it is not that. Only materialistic thing, I can take a glass and keep it here. There's a change. I can change of my whatever it is, habits and things like that. That's a change. That change is materialistic. Now, spiritually the change cannot be done. It is not possible. It has to happen. It's all happening. The change automatically happens. The change of spirituality, this change in the change of that avyaktada being perceived, or the perception of the knowledge happens. We make environments to make the perception happen. That's all. We should make that. That's why satsang is there, guru is there, teaching is there, learning is there. They are all environments to make this to happen. But actually, can you transform by just listening? So you are not doing it, you cannot do it because you can't do it. Who is that you, what I am talking about? Your ego, your mind, your intellect, your sharira cannot do it. Who can do it? That Antaratma can do it. So who has to listen and who has to change? Who will create the change? The one who is the creator of this sharira has to make the sharira understand. That means that avyakta bhava, that avyaktada, who is known as the Atma, that automatically changes the other. So the changes to the, where the changes happen, the intellect, mana, indriyas, sharira, the changes happen. The Atma, that means the Atma Jnanam is prominently and purposely transmitted to the Sukshma, Sthula, Karana, Shariras. So this happens actually. But to make it happen, we have to create an environment. Like, it's very simple. For everything we do that. We light the fire, keep a pot of water. Whatever effort you put, you cannot boil it. You can scientifically say, oh, when there is a flame, there is a heat. Heat is being conducted. When it is conducted, each and every molecule of water, heats it up, goes up, and the cold one comes down again, heated up. All this explanation can be. How is it getting heated up? How is it boiling? It happens. Nobody does it. Neither the fire does it, nor the water is doing it, nor. But what happens? They are all creating an environment. Water has to be there because it has to be a liquid. The pot has to be there because it has to contain. The fire has to be there because it has to generate heat, and the person has to be there to keep it there and light it. All these are facilities provided for if all the facilities are ready, water automatically boils. Clear? Is it not? Some people are saying, dal nahi galta hai. You know, I'm talking about very colloquial, and there's some dals which doesn't boil. Some other dal boils. If you are boiling the dal, boil that also. वो क्यों नहीं गलता है? If you can do it, no. You got my point. And don't try to analyze it too much on that. Just to understand that, and as an example. Can you boil? I can boil it. No, can you do that? No. I can make it comfortable. I can make the environments congenial to get that boiling done. In fact, all that what we are doing is that karma what we are doing, that intentions what we are making in our day-to-day life, everything that we are doing is that we are creating that surroundings, the environments, congenial to make it happen. So once the ingredients of all the particles that I have done the karma properly, what happens? It automatically happens. It's just like switching on the light. You see? That's what happens. So in a karma, if I am doing something and if I am not doing something, if I am doing something wrong, if I am doing something right, that doesn't happen. Then we say, why is it not happening? I am struggling so much. You had been struggling for doing it, not making it happen, not distracting it, no things like that. But all the ingredients, all the happenings should be provided by you execute that karma. Automatically, that what is supposed to happen, it will happen. So everything is happening, is what I'm saying. Where, as far as the transformation is concerned. Otherwise, it will remain same. That's all. You want to transform from something to something. You want to transform. In order to make it transform, who can do it? It has to just happen. So, but what is then the purpose of us? That our mind, intellect and other indriyas and other things are necessary, and jnanam is necessary. What is it jnanam? Jnanam is necessary to provide the facility of the environments perfect so that it can happen. The liberation should happen. Jnanam is not liberating you. Jnanam is making you ready to liberate, and you liberate. Is it not? Are you getting it now? See, we have to go into detail, otherwise we won't understand this transformation problem. Otherwise, why we are not transforming? That question will come. Why I am doing all these things, but why am I not transforming? Why are you not able to transform? Because it's not your effort that makes you transform. It is your karma that makes you transform. There are two things. One is that effort, that with your strength, with your effort, with your knowledge, with your jnanam that you do it. Another is that with your jnanam, you provide the facilities and environments, and it will happen. Without providing that, if you only try to transform, it doesn't transform. With the jnanam, let me just tell you a small example again. I have water, I have the pot, I have fire, I have me, I have everything. I kept the water there, I kept the fire there, all the ingredients are there, but not in its place. The fire has to be below the water pot, then only the water can boil. I cannot keep the fire here and the water there, and I have provided. See, you told me that this or the meditation has to be done, upasana has to be done, and this has to be done. I have done all that. But I am not getting what you said. You kept the fire there, water there, and something else there, container there, and this is why it's not happening. Keep it at this position. See? Is it not? It has to be kept. This keeping it in its own position, fire has to be here, the water has to be there, and this is called Knowing that is called knowledge. Doing that is karma. With the knowledge, with the jnanam, you do a karma like a brahmachari does. This is called brahmacharya. Discipline. What is that discipline? With the jnanam, you keep the right thing, right karma. With the jnanam, you do the right karma at the right time, at the right place, for the right purpose. Is called jnanam. And with that jnanam, you get automatically liberation. This is called, indirectly we call it as an effort. That effort is only nothing. It is not an effort, in fact. When you analyze it, it's not an effort. It is through jnanam executing your karma. An effort is that effort has to be made. Jnanam is not, it's not made. Jnanam is an inherent capability to understand it and to function with the jnana, to transform yourself as the jnana. Karma is that has to be executed, not as effortlessly executed. Don't translate it in the linguistical way of translating it. Doing a karma, you can say it's an effort. I don't mean that. I should not be forceful. Effort, when I am saying that, it is a forcefully doing it. I don't want to do it, but I have to put an extra effort to do that, we say. Effort is an extra. It is not it's a qualifying the superlative extra effort. Nobody can put an extra effort. You see. Effort is effort, that's all. But we put a superlative, that extra, only to emphasize that which I don't like, but I have to do it somehow or other. So to clarify that language has been put that way. An extra effort. Effort is effort, there is no extra. I always said that. Same way, it's not an effort, it's not that. Effort means that you have to put in something. Here, after you have the jnanam, then automatically you know what is the karma and how it is to be executed. Utilizing the jnanam, use that karma to be executed. Once that is done, automatically the liberation takes place. Liberation is a process. When everything is ready, it automatically happens. Only up to that meditation we can do, jnanam we can do, and with the jnanam we can execute our karmas and kartavyas in the right way. That's why we said the emphasis of doing a kartavya and karma in previous chapters, what I have explained. That emphasis was there to do a kartavya. You have to do kartavya according to the dharma, through the dharma, and karma also has to be executed through dharma. Why? Because with that discipline, what happens? I utilize my jnanam in order to place ourselves, place all the ingredients for my purpose of liberation in the right and the right place, at the right time, in the right sense, and for the right purpose. It's done. This, for doing that, we need jnanam. Not having that jnanam, mudada, is that we don't utilize that jnanam for executing it in the right sense. So, whatever we are learning, we have to put it in practice in the sense. As I told you, our mind or intellect or indriyas cannot do it overnight. It's not possible because it has been used by maybe 100 of years of experience. It's not possible for changing it. But what happens? The determination, the sthita prajna, we are coming to that, has to be there. With the sthita prajna, we have to tame that. Like we are taming a horse, wild horse. We are taming a wild animal. We are taming a wild mind. It should be taming. The taming is required. For the purpose of taming, we require jnanam. Through jnanam only we can do that. Through jnanam, otherwise it's not possible. How will you change? How will you do? You have to have a program, you see. Psychologically you have to approach even an animal, even a tree, a plant, an animal, anything for that matter, even the mind, same thing to the mind. You have to have a psychological approach. You have to have a jnanam of the structure, the swabhava of that object, and you have to know what transformation should be made, and how much transformation can be done through that particular object. All these variants have to be understood. This understanding automatically takes place by jnana. Then what else we have to do? So this is the purpose of why we have to have these basics or have this discipline in us. Discipline in us to prepare ourselves to listen to the jnana. When I am ready with all these things, jnana automatically, without any obstacle, it incessantly flows into your system, not to the brain, not to the eyes, not to the ears, not to the memory cells, not only that, the whole system and the Antaratma. That whatever perception has to be done, it has to be perceived in order to transform all these faculties. These faculties have to be sunk in that, because they cannot absorb it. It's not like a foam absorbing the water. Even if a foam absorbs the water, it can absorb up to a certain quantity. Beyond that, it cannot absorb. Then what happens? The foam becomes the water. It becomes the water. Similarly, constant listening of these satsanga, constant listening of the Veda Jnanam, Brahma Jnanam, makes our mind, Indriyas and others gradually, initially it will absorb and then it will criticize and things like that. Then it will soak inside that. It has no other choice. No, it is full with this. I say, in different ways I have told this, in fact. It's not that new thing. It's again different ways. Let it soak. Let my mind, my intellect, my ears, my eyes, my nose, my body, physical, the Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, everything, let it get filled up with this jnana. A constant application, introduced, inducted, insisted on the system will automatically make a permanent change. This is how this has to be listened. If you know this tattva, you know the importance of the listening. What is the purpose of eligibility? What do you mean by that? Otherwise you won't know what is the importance of it. Not just listening. Anybody just coming, walking in and listening, he cannot appreciate it. He cannot understand it. He cannot appreciate it. He can never take it. But on the other hand, it will have a wrong impression also, probably, because when we don't understand certain things, we will say that, I don't think it is right. We will put it in that way. Okay, I don't think this is not right. That means my total inacceptance, non-acceptance is that. That's all. Why? Why? Because I have not tuned to that. I have to gradually let it soak it. Constant application is necessary because the mind is impure with materialistic way of thoughts and living. So this, in order to purify the constant pouring of the jnana, there is nothing other than that which can purify the mind. Only jnanam only can purify the mind. Let us understand that also. If you think that we can with some other activities, that's what in this Kali Yuga, many places, many kinds of courses and sessions are happening. You must be knowing that every day there is something new comes up with somebody has got some ideas. They are all only adding to your materialistic fulfillment of knowledge in the mind, not vairagya towards that. Here for liberation, for our fulfilling of our karmas and getting liberation, the purpose of life is to liberate ourselves, to get mukti and moksha from all this. It's not that, every life let me have the same problems, let me have the sufferings, let me have the kashta dukha. No, not that. Nobody wants it. Is anybody wanting it? Then, so the purpose of life is to renounce. The purpose of life itself is to, that's why moksha. Moksha is nothing but liberation from the existing methodology of living. That's all. Even if you have a sharira and mana, but the methodology of living has to be changed by understanding of the complete jnanam and then executing that. That's what Adi Shankara and many great noblemen are still, they say they are alive. We say they are alive. They have a consciousness. They have a higher consciousness and lower consciousness. They have a consciousness. How are they doing it? Because after the transformation, liberation has taken place, depending upon your choice, you will be in a position to manifest yourself, because you have the jnanam. Manifest yourself for the purpose of fulfillment of the jnanam, or transformation of, or transmitting the jnanam to others. Their purpose is that. They don't have any karmas, so they don't need a physical body. A sthula sharira or a sukshma sharira is not required for them. But a karana sharira is there with them. There is a karana sharira. Through that karana sharira, he can create whenever he wants. From the karana sharira, he can create a sukshma and sthula sharira for a particular period of time. That also, from karana sharira, it can be instruct. It can be for 2 hours, it can be 1 hour, it can be 1 minute, it can be 5 years. From karana sharira, this can be done. So the karana sharira is that seed from which this can be produced. There are certain atmas who would like to execute this for the purpose of the benefit of the humanity. They would like to do that. That's how these Maharshis, Tapasvis and Jnanis, we say they are living for 9. We don't know, many of us have not seen, but there are people who are living for thousands of years, they say. They are in Himalayas, like Babaji and all, they say that they are still there, people have seen them and all that they say. We don't know, but naturally it must be there. But according to the Jnanam, according to the Vedanta, according to the Veda, it is correct, it is possible. It is not that they are there with this, we always compare with the Sthula Sharira of ours. They are not with this Sharira there, with these emotions there, with this ego there, with this expectation and desires. No, they are not there. Who are they? They are an entity which can create a Sushma Sharira from that Jnanam, and from there, whenever necessary, it can be made visible to. That means they can bring their, step down the Shakti of them into a lower power, so that the others can see with their low-powered eyes. Again, he increases his power and he disappears from the seeing. That's what it is. Whenever the frequency is increased, you are unable to see. For everything there is a limit. The music, when you put too loud, nothing can be heard. Too low. Between this and this, from 1 dB to 10 dB, 12 dB, you can understand, you can hear. After 12 dB is only bursting noise only. There's nothing can be identified. Same way, each one has got its own limit of the frequency through which only it can be understood. So when they are existing in a different plane with a different frequency, we are unable to see them. If they want to make you see, he having the capacity, having the liberation done already, there he need not to have, there is no, he doesn't have any desires, any expectations, any entanglements, any attachments, anything. But for the cause of expressing himself through the Jnanam, the Brahma Jnanam, Brahma Tattvam, he can make himself present and visible, which is called the Pratyaksha. Bhagavan Pratyakshavya means what? He is not only just come there for some time. Yeah, he has come for some time, but not just for this one. He is there always, but he has become visible. In a crude language we can say, he was out of focus, now he is in focus. Pratyaksha and Pratyaksha. If you make it is out of focus and focus. Focus is what you want the capacities. This is what happens. So similarly, we have to make ourselves that, bring the capability of that which we can see the outer focus. We should not see through the material eye or material ears or material mind and memory cells to understand that. It is not the Vedas and Vedanta and Veda Jnanam cannot be understood like that. That's why there may be scholars, we call it as scholars. Scholars are those who have done the studies very well, memorized them. Dr. Radhakrishnan was a scholar. At one point of time, he's a man who knew the Vedantas and all very well. You all must be knowing. You must have heard also him. I have heard him. How the way he delivers the Bhagavad Gita and things like that. During the talks, he will relate every karma of parliament, every karma of prime minister, every karma of the country's functioning through Gita. He used to do that. How the karma should be executed. He could do that now, and he was a scholar. He was good at language as well as this. Now what happened after that? When he fell ill, what happened? All this, the scholarship has gone. He must have got mukti quite close to Jnanam, there's no doubt. But what happened? This is not there. He could not speak, or he could not recognize who he himself is. He had that Alzheimer's, I think, at that point in time. The last days of few years, he was not a great man, no doubt. So like this, the knowledge, it is not. So the Jnanam is not that which can be understood, you see. It can be done, yes, it can be used when the Jnanam is there. It can be used, it can be converted as knowledge and which can be scholar. It can be expressed to the others for the purpose of teaching. But that is not what brings the liberation. Releasing that Jnanam also is liberation. At one point of time, that's what doctors, you ask him what is Bhagavad Gita, he will not know at one point. That's the status. It is not necessary. All that what is done, whatever we are learning, as I have told you a number of times, whatever we are learning, whatever we are practicing, whatever we are doing, everything is meant for renouncing at one point of time. For the purpose of renunciation, we have to experience it, then renounce it. That is called renunciation. Otherwise, this experiencing has to be done. Having a sharira and mana. If you don't have a sharira and mana, then no experience, not necessary at all. We are talking about people who have got sharira and mana. The ones who are having sharira and mana, they have to undergo the experience, they have to undergo the karmas. But then, if it is that I have to undergo only, why not I undergo it in the right way? Anyway, I have to undergo. Why not I do it in the right way so that I don't have to repeat it? No, that frustrating experience should not be there again. Let me finish it off. That is why the purpose of life, that's why the purpose of making you listen, that's why the purpose of the Guru, that's why the Jnanis, they would like to do for the benefit of the others, they would like to express that, look, this is the importance of it. They don't expect that you to transform in a day. No, nobody does it. But they want you to be aware. They want you to perceive it. They want you to soak the whole self in that at one point of time, and at a point of time you transform yourself. So that's soaking with a firm dedication and devotion. That is the purpose. These are the things what we are coming out to listen to. We have told the theory part of it so long, we have done all that. Very detailed, pin to pin, we have explained. Now we are going to this certain small things which you are aware, which you know about it, but now after having known all this, then becoming aware of this has got a difference. According to me, yes, I think so. Again, I think so. I don't know what you think that means. So we said keeping away the ahankara. What is that? Ishta anishta. Keeping away the last class word about keeping away the ishta anishta and ahankara. Only man can keep the mind absolutely pure, and you will be eligible to listen. Otherwise, your ahankara will intrude and interfere and intercept the purpose of listening. And then whatever has been listened, he will erase it or he will distort it. The ahankara has got tremendous capability. He's like a magician. He can make you believe it, you see. Maya, magician, you see. Can make you believe that forget about it, that is what is necessary. And you believe it. That's very true. Like some of the ladies, they have told, no, that ये सब क्या तू 20-25 वर्ष के जो है, why these 20-25 year people are listening to that. These are meant for people who have nothing to do, above 70, like all these are meant for them, is what some people's opinion at that point of time. आधा सुनेगा, आधा दिखेगा. वो भी ये सब लगा के किसी तरह. अब वो वेदांत क्या समझे? He is already soaked with so many unwanted experiences. Keeping away his ahankara and just be one with the Guru, we said. Last time this is what we said. About the that what is it?
Wanting to tell. You must understand what he wants to tell.
He wants to tell, yes. Not what he is telling. What he is telling you already understand. But he wants to tell. That means by the time it is in the thought level, because by the thought level it is transmitted. The light travels beyond, before the sound. Before the sound comes, this is already transmitted. The delivery is already done. At that point of time, the disciple perceives it. That's why a guru sitting under the tree silently, disciple sitting in front of him, concentrating himself on the third eye of the guru, perceiving the whole jnanam from him. In Puranas, Veda, we read it, but we don't know how this is done. This is called psychic synchronization. Synchronization of the psyche, that means the capability of the synchronizing from the inner self of you. It is not the phenomena of the mind. Mind is involved, no doubt about it. Mind is always involved so long the sharir is there. It's not that. But mind alone is not doing it. It is because of the firm dedication and devotion imposed on the mind. Not allowing the mind to think of something else, tying the mind and keeping it with himself and then focusing on that is called the
Psychic synchronization.
Psychic synchronization. Right from there only that psychology and psychosomatic, everything has come from that, you see, that the power of discrimination of thinking, the power of discrimination of mind is a power of discrimination of thinking. And when it happens, that discriminates, this is the thing that has to be done, and it happens. When you focus on that, it happens. Many people who have got the siddhi is what? This is what is a siddhi that you can do just by thinking about that. So that siddhi is that what we are able to orient everything, all indriyas, everything is locked, every emotion is locked, panchakoshas, panchendriyas locked, mana locked in the sense focus is only on that. With that, you are in a position to direct yourself towards that. Is called psychic synchronization. So when it happens, both vibrate at the same frequency. So you are in a position to see it and experience whatever is happening in that frequency. It's not the individual, it's not the you as an individual, it's not the guru as an individual. They both rise above and then experience. The antaratma, the intellect, to a certain extent intellect, both of them experiences those what is there in that plane. So going to that plane is called the psychic synchronization. Then you synchronize automatically. When you go there, automatically synchronization, as I told you, it happens. You have to go to that plane and then synchronization automatically takes place. Everything is like that. Not that you are synchronizing it. It's not your capacity to synchronize. No. It's not his capacity of synchronizing. Both rise to that particular level of frequency, then synchronizes. Automatically synchronizes. Because it's supposed to happen. As we told, everything has to happen. This is the meaning of everything happens. हम लोग का एक छोटा सा प्रभाव है, सब कुछ जैसे भगवान की इच्छा वैसे होता है. That everything happens. The literal analysis is like this, that when we go into that, you see, when it happens, everything happens. Actually everything happens. Depending on whenever we are in that circumstance, situation and the environments, that happens. So that has to be created. Creating that facility is the purpose of Jnanam, Tapasya and then renunciation. These are necessary for experiencing that. Experiencing it, there is nobody to experience at that time. But after the liberation, who is there to experience? There is nobody. So that's why we are unable to understand that, because we sitting in the Sthula Sharira and with this Sthula Mana, unable to understand that Avyaktata is not. So we said to be synchronizing with the Guru. Listener should be listening to this we have told already. As the time is thoughts, perceive it in its right meaning as what does the Guru wants to tell. So, his means the person who listening. His individuality should not reflect anywhere in that. That means his ego should not play a role there. His individuality should not play. He should not feel that I am listening to the Upanishad, or this may be the meaning of that. No, by the time you listen one word of the Guru, we start analyzing in the mind. It's a habit of human being. We start analyzing, how it is that, how it is that. By the time he finishes the sentence, that man has got 100 questions. When did he get the time to create that question? Because he was understanding it through the intelligence. When a person is trying to understand it through the intelligence and memorize, automatically the analysis in the mind takes place. The moment you listen, the analysis takes place. By side, it's very fast. So by the time you finish one word, 10 questions have been arised by that. No, we must practice in a different way. That's what we are coming to. Shravanam. What is Shravanam? Have patience, we say. हम लोग खुद बोलते हैं. अरे listen what I am saying. है ना बोलते हैं. Be patient, listen first, उसके बाद में जवाब दो. Mind is by the time you told one word, he doesn't listen. He only asks questions. Like we all, this normal way we say that. Listen, then by the time some people are there, before you start telling, they start. We say, you listen. You should tell that to the mind that you listen. Your answer will be there after about 10 sentences. Listen. Don't create questions unnecessarily and create problem. For that we have to practice dedication, devotion, Shraddha. That is where the Shraddha, Bhakti is necessary. Bhakti and Shraddha is necessary. Vishwasa comes from Bhakti and Shraddha. The belief, the faith. From where the faith comes from? Faith comes from Shraddha and Bhakti. Bhakti is not that praying with the folded hands. Bhakti is that. Bhakti is that surrendering from the inner self is called Bhakti. Surrendering in totality is called Bhakti. हे भगवान आप ही सर्वस्व है, you are everything and I am placing myself at the feet of you. This is bhakti. After that there is nothing. Only these two sentences is called bhakti. You are everything and I have surrendered myself. After having surrendered, then what is left in you? Nothing is there. No, there is nothing more to question. Is there a question? No. There is no question. So, this is called the true bhakti. So, bhakti, devotion, that's called devotion. That's why devoting they said. And dedication. Dedication is a constantly practicing that bhakti is called dedication. Dedicate. Dedicate what? Dedicate the bhakti, the constantly there. That's called. That's why it is combined. Always people talk about Shraddha and bhakti. Dedication and devotion. In fact, it is devotion and dedication. It can be like that also. That's why it is Shraddha and bhakti. Shraddha and bhakti creates faith in us. That faith has to be brought. Because why we have to bring that faith? As I told you some time back, it is not Vyakta to me. So in order to understand that Avyakta, I have to leave that is Vyakta to me. The Vyaktata of me has to be renounced. So the Avyaktata in me can absorb the Avyakta. This is the principle of bhakti. That's what is called bhakti. That's of course not the bhakti today what we are seeing is not that bhakti. It's partially, very minor mode of bhakti, but it's not the bhakti. This is what is called exactly the bhakti. So once you have that bhakti and once you have the Shraddha, that Shraddha is dedication. Shraddha is even the common meaning is Shraddha, that to be constantly focusing on that. It's called Shraddha. Shraddha. Please listen. A classmate teacher बोलता है कि श्रद्धा नहीं है तुम्हारी. You are not listening to me. Teacher knows. Look at the students. Somebody is not awake. So he says that you are not listening to me. You are not concentrating. You are not listening to me. Shraddha नहीं है तुम्हारा वहाँ पर. Shraddha is a dedication. Once you dedicate yourself, then the faith automatically comes, and it can be seen. See, like a teacher sees in the student who is not concentrating, same thing can be seen in us. You know? If a teacher, an ordinary teacher can see that, why can't we see? In the sense. So when we have Shraddha, it can be seen. When we have Bhakti, it can be seen. It need not be told, it not be proclaimed, it not be advertised, it's not necessary. Automatically, no. So dedication and devotion has to be there. Shraddha and Bhakti has to be there. So that's why the individuality is coming only because his ego. Because of his ego. Analysis, as I told you, the moment you listen, make the mind understand that there is coming. So much of things are coming. Let you absorb everything, then have the questions. Maybe. But make it patient. Be patient, be patient, be patient. Get it, Shravanam. Keep on getting, receiving it. The capability of receiving it. Many people have got many ways. Well, these are the principles I am talking about. So one should understand how one should do it, one should be. So we call it as we should be sincere to that. Why we should be honest and sincere? Satyam. And sincere is that which is your swabhava should be that. Sincerity. That means I want to benefit out of it. And then I have that. The moment I have that intention, then I am sincere. If I know that I want to benefit out of it, then I am sincere. Is it not? That's how the sincerity comes. If I am not, no, it is not necessary for me. My half job is done. ठीक है. किसी तरह कर दो हो जाएगा. But if it is for me, then I'll do it very meticulously. And that's called sincerity. So sincerity comes from the want. So the want is that I have to liberate, I have to transform, I have to gain the jnanam in order to place myself at the right place so that I'll be in a position to transform So the individuality should not reflect anywhere in that. Why? Because this being a subject that takes one to liberation. Through right understanding and firm determination, one should acquire. This is where the Sthita Prajna comes. Once you have determined that I would like to go through this path, Sthita Prajna, don't be shaky. But don't decide it. I'm coming to that. It's okay. So don't decide. It's alright. But once you decide, have the Sthita Prajna, let me know. Because it's anyway meant for the benefit. One thing is definite. Guru says, Shastras says, everything says, Purana says. This is meant for liberation, no doubt. This you can be very firm on that and you can believe it. It's an experience of the thousands of Maharishis and Tapasvis. So he says that it is meant for renunciation and meant for liberation. You get mukti. And you will be able to fulfill your karmas in the right manner. This assurance is there. Am I clear? This assurance is there. Not that it is told doubtfully. No. It may be there or it may not be there. No. It is told, that very firmly it has been discussed. So it is called, so Sthita Prajna has to be there. You have to, determination has to be there. Yes, once you decide this is the way. It won't interrupt. Now why people are not having Sthita Prajna is that because of their ignorance, because of their avidya and ignorance, they think that whatever materialistic things that what they are doing, they have to lose that or they have to renounce it, they have to lose that. No, nothing has to be lost. In fact, you, on the other hand, you will be executing your materialistic way of living because you are supposed to fulfill the kartavya and karma in any way. But you will do it in the right manner and make it faster. When you do something in the right manner, it will be finished faster. When I do it on trial and error method, make 100 mistakes, then I rectify it, then I do it, it takes more time. No? Just doing it in the right manner takes more time. So once you have the Sthita Prajna through this, you are not losing out from the karmas that you have to do. That anyway you have to do, that's why you are born. The karma and kartavya has to be finished. It's a firm determination of understanding why, because it is meant for liberation. One should, by this, as I repeat what we have talked about yesterday, one should acquire purity of mind, desirelessness, detachment, and devotion and dedication. This is what happens when we practice this, not allowing the individuality to interfere, will culminate into benefit of these. The individual, the ahankara, when it interferes, opposite of the ahankara, when it is not interfering, interfering with the thoughts, what happens? He gets the purity of mind, determination, and desirelessness, detachment, and devotion. These are the things you achieve by that. So why not do it? Is it not? Why not we make it a point not allowing our individuality or the ahankara to interfere in that, where the desirelessness comes. Automatically desirelessness comes. When the ego interferes only, all these things happen then. I have just put a small example here because why this has to be done? Because the prasadam, the naivedyam should be kept in a clean vessel. Clean vessel. You don't keep in a dirty thing, naivedyam to the God. When you present that naivedyam, In order to make it as a prasadam, the vessel should be clean. Dirty pot में प्रसादम डालने से dirty हो जाता है. It will become dirty. Nobody does it, no? So we have to clean it properly so that, because it is something which is pure. The pure can be received only by purity. The pure can be received only by purity of mind. That pure of the Brahman is the pure. In order to receive that Brahman, we have to have the purity. Same way, when the Ahankara is not intruding, we will have this purity, the desirelessness, detachment, devotion, purity of mind, and dedication happens. People who are listening this for not for the purpose of walking in the spiritual path, for them it is a waste of time. But there are some people walking by the side, oh idhar mein satsang ho raha hai, let us just listen for some time. Train ka bhi time hai abhi baki. So on the way to the station, satsang hoega. Train ka 1 घंटा दिया. Train is late by 1 hour. क्या करेंगे? Even if you go for a movie, it requires 2 hours. Go to a restaurant, too much of expense, money has to be there. So which is the better? Satsang हो रहा है. क्या हो उधर में बैठो? Satsang हो रहा है ना? If he goes there, what is the use? He will want to spend, and that means wanting to just casually spending time. No, people like that. It's not necessary for them. What I am trying to tell, it's not necessary for such people, because, and then some people pretend spirituality. For that, you are so much. I have seen many people, not only ladies, women, everywhere, in every house, I think. ऐसा है कि रोज सुबह 10 बजे से 12 बजे तक सत्संग है. एवरी सैटरडे संडे हम सत्संग. क्या हम जाते हैं वो है ना एक जगह, वहाँ जाते हैं. क्या करते हैं? बैठते हैं, सुनते हैं, उसके बाद वापस आते हैं. अच्छा, so them, you also must be. I think here it's very common, no? Everybody goes. Somebody says. From somewhere the message comes, and I am listening to that and discussing. Various kinds of things are there. Anyway, I am not criticizing them. I am just discussing. That's all. So there, how much is that? What have they developed after 15 years, 20 years of doing that? What happened? There is no change in them. Their character and their behavior, their activities, there is nothing. There is no change in them. If there is no change, then why are you going for 15 years then? Then to please some, then to criticize the Vakta, then to judge the Vakta, all these things are waste of time, and they get wrong messages out of it. These are all happening why? Because, as I told you some time back, by the time we listen, without perceiving it in the right sense, without soaking ourselves in that, the intelligence listen to that for a while, and then immediately hundreds of questions. Question should be there. Samshaya will be there. But what happens? After perceiving it in the right sense, the necessity of clarification is necessary, not suspicion, not doubt. Necessity of one is the doubt, another is a clarification. Doubt is that I am doubting your statement is called a doubt. I would like to have a clarification that what you have told is that clarification. That means to establish what you said is right. There are two things. Having doubt is not good. Wanting to have clarification is very good, because we learn out of it. You must have clarification because certain things are there, because it's such a subject which is very wide. Initial stages में lot of clarification required, but final stages में no clarification, because by the time you are absorbed, and having absorbed for constant, that's why the Upanishad says, I have repeated it in Upanishads also, repetition is necessary. Upanishad said repetition is necessary. So repeat, many times are repeated. Why? Because The number of times it is repeated, the mind has already absorbed or we have already perceived it. Then what happens? Anything comes on that, the solution is automatically found and diluted without you putting it with an effort. Effort to know is not necessary. Knowing is necessary. But what we do is that we have an effort to know. So doubt is not good. But the clarification, yes, initial stages the clarifications are necessary and it should be there. Afterwards, after so many Upanishads we have learned and something like that. Today I said about the Jnanam, Jnanam, Vidya, Vidya. What do you mean by Vidya if you ask? That means you have a doubt. Because so many times you have already perceived it, it won't have. By the time you listen to it, you might have even not thought of asking it because it automatically gets absorbed, because you already have absorbed them. So this all know that. So this is the way it is. Ekam sat vipra bahuda vadanti. Truth is only one. Vipra bahuda vadanti. So don't have doubt. Why I am saying this? Don't have doubt. Remove if the doubt is there in your mind. Clarification, yes, you must have. Because it is the truth. Ekam sat vipra bahuda vadanti. But for the people who are not really wanting to walk on this path, thinks that these are all, there are so many people. Yes, sir. No, I don't believe it. Fine, no problem. They should not listen to that. Because if they listen to that, it's an insult to the jnana. An insult to themselves. Because they don't agree to that principle, so they should not listen to it. Fine, nobody is objecting. It is not that everybody has to walk in the spiritual path. No, because everybody is not ready to walk in the spiritual path. That is a very great bonus and privilege that you have got, that you can walk on the spiritual path. It's a privilege, it's a bonus. It's a privilege that you have got to walk on the spiritual path. But I repeat, because I want you to emphasize on that. See. But doesn't mean that each and every prani has to undergo that. Others have not fulfilled their karmas, they have to fulfill it through the karma yoga and the karma, many other ways. For them, it may be difficult to absorb in this. So, for those people, nothing wrong. Nobody is wrong. Nobody is at fault, nobody is wrong, actually. They are at liberty to fulfill their karmas their way. They want to execute their karmas in the materialistic way, let them do it. They should do it. After having that done for a few janmas or number 1 or 2 janmas, automatically they will be oriented, they will be directed towards to this. That's all. It all has to come back again. Everybody has to come to this. Even in this life itself, by the time we reach the final stage towards death, everybody becomes absolutely Tattva-jnanis. They don't want anything. What do you want? Peaceful death. But there are people who would like to have till the last moment their value of share has gone up or not. Before I die, please tell me my shares have gone up. Let me die peacefully. पैसा मिले नहीं मिले कोई बात नहीं, बढ़ाए कि नहीं बढ़ाए बता दो, ताकि हम शांति से मरें. बोलते हैं कोई बोलते हैं कम से कम तो सुना दो, हम शांति से मरें. There are people like that. We cannot help them. They are not fulfilled their karmas. They are not at fault. They are not wrong. They are right. According to them, they are right, and according to their karma, they are right. They are not wrong. But they have to repeat their life again, that's all. It is not wrong. I cannot say it is wrong. That's the way they have to do it. But what I am emphasizing here, I means what the Veda, the Jnanam, Brahma-jnanam emphasizes here is that the people who have already that inclination towards working it, they need support and help. So they have to have with us Sthita Prajna, make it a firm attendance in this, so that they can progress it and they will find themselves comfortable. No? They will then each day if you listen to new things, that's right, this is right, this is interesting, this is how it has to be done, this is how it is to be done. These thoughts will engross us into the right way of working. By that what happens, we also come to know what is the right karmas to be executed, because we don't have time to do unwanted analyzing. Our time is cut towards that. Automatically the karmas will appear, what is to be done, what is not to be done. So same thing happens. Then we say that people who have got their physical edges for the truth is material life and the pleasures and pain, and they look for pleasure. So what happened? People undergo the pleasures and pain. Now people who are in the who are supposed to be living in the material life and then gain the experience, if they listen to this, what happens? They would like to have solutions to those pleasures and pains from here, in this. That will not happen. Then they are disappointed. Oh, Vedanta is nothing. Veda is nothing. It cannot give me the relief from the pain, relief from the pleasure, relief from this, relief from the kashta, relief from the dukkha. That's the problem. They have to understand that the kashta and dukkha are nothing but karma phalas, but they are not. Dukkha and kashta depends upon the analysis of me. When I have jnanam, this doesn't be translated to my mind as dukkha and kashta, but it is translated to my mind as the experiencing. There is no pleasure, there is no dukkha, there is no kashta in the world. Everything is experiencing. This will come to our understanding only when you have jnanam. Otherwise, we will address things which I don't like, we will address it as kashta. The ones I like it, I'll address it as pleasure and happy. No? This is how we do it. That's your choice actually. It's not that. What is that? To understand that you should have jnana. For that you should have these studies of this. Am I clear? Is it not right? Or do you think it is not right? They have no patience to undergo the process of explained in the Vedic science for removal of the sorrows and difficulties. Sorrows and difficulties will automatically be removed once jnanam comes. Then there is no sorrow. Otherwise, every small bit is a sorrow and difficulty. Having sharira and manas, some difficulties, sorrows will always bear, settle down something. But what happened? But not according to today's 90% of sorrows will come to 10% of sorrows. At least to that we can. The example is Sharashayya of Bhishma, who has done all atrocities in his life. Very great, knowledgeable man, jnani. He is a Ashtavasu, one of the Ashtavasu, and then have gone for the purpose of it. Because of the Shapa, he has born as Bhishma, because they stole that Kamadhenu, from Vasishtha Ashram. He is the cause. Bhishma is the cause. He is the one who stole it, according to his wife's advice. And so he has taken this birth. Jnani, learned, knowledgeable man, and in even everything, in Dhanush Shastra, Veda Shastra, Jnanam, everything. In every field, he is very capable, and the man who is capable in everything have sided only adharma throughout his life. Am I right? Not me, I am telling you. It's the Mahabharata what he is telling. He sided on a man who is knowledgeable, a man who is efficient, a man is a avatara of something, a man who is very from the Ganga, birth from the Ganga, and Ashtavasu. With all the capabilities, what he has done? He sided only with adharma, only with adharma. The only thing what he has done is that he loved the Pandavas. He knew Bhagavan Krishna. He knew his capability. But after knowing that, he did not stop many things which are atrocities happening in him, but which was in his authority. He being Bhishma, he had the tremendous capacity. One voice would stop it. He has to only order Dhritarashtra, stop this war. You are not going to do it. This is all what he has to do. He did not do it. Vastracheva of Draupadi. He was a witness. Jnani. All are jnanis. So what I am trying to tell you is that this is there. What happens? If that is there, these are all again fulfilling the karmas. And for him, what I wanted to tell you is that for such a man, what happened? Realization was there, the awareness was there, everything was there. But the true realization he wanted to experience is why he accepted the Sharashaya. That was the time. The whole repentance, whole renunciation, whole repentance, whole Upadesha, whole advices, whole everything has come from him. Vishnu Sahasranama was advised when he was in Sharashaya. The whole Vidra Samvadam, with the Dharmaputra, the advices, how the ruling has to be done. Even though Veda Vyasa and Bhagavan Krishna themselves were present there, great knowledgeable people, but Bhishma were asked to advise him how he should lead a life as a king, as a Chakravarti. That time, you see. At that point of time, that's what I said, this moksha comes. But had he done the other way around, things should have been much better. Anyway, so the experiencing, everybody has their karma to fulfill. So many people feel that no, okay, it is not necessary. But what happened? An effort, a sthita prajna has to be made. If you feel that yes, this is right and you want to make a progress on that, you must have repeated attendance towards that. To understand Upanishads and Vedas, so I finished that. I'm not going there, there are so many things, but coming to my mind, but not prolonging it. To understand the Upanishads, Vedanta, Veda, one should have the following now. Okay. These are the qualities. This is not much. I won't. You are bored. Is it interesting? It is interesting, Interesting is interesting. My classification. Don't look at the dictionary. I may be proved wrong. I just came out. Interesting is interesting. What are the? I just read out this, the explanation, a little bit of explanation next class. I think I read it last time. One is Shushrusha. Second is Shravanam, Mananam, Grahanam, Dharanam, Uham Apuham, Tattvajnanam. These are the Ashta Siddhi, Ashta Gunas. Should have Gunas one should have. These eight of them. This will, in small explanations we will do that. Many of them you know it already, but small qualities, and then we will go to another one or two classes. Somehow we will finish it. You see, Daga has come to next position already. Oh,